I'm good, mate. The Swedish fraud's gone. Everything's good in the world, so I'm happy. Um, Talking about that because I know she likes that. Chantel, how are you?
Yeah, I mean, you just made me laugh with the fraud, so I'll stick with that. It's gonna haunt me for the rest of my life, I think.
Yeah. There. Paul, how you doing, mate? Good to see you
Still,
yesterday.
yeah, still buzzing after yesterday.
Yeah.
All good.
Cool. And Laura, how are you
Hello,
doing?
I'm all right, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm good. Good to have you here as well.
Thank you very much for having us on.
So basically, you probably have noticed we have got Scottish people here, but we don't have Mel. So Mel is I think she's football training, something like that. So she'll be back on Monday, hopefully. So yeah, you're just stuck with me tonight. So Chantel or Paul, if you're able to read comments, if you can see them. If not, that's fine. So we'll start with yesterday's game. So I'll start with you, Laura. Why not put you on the spot? So, um, what was your thoughts on the lineup when we see it? There wasn't that much difference, was there? Really?
um, to be fair, as you says, there wasn't much that we could possibly do. I mean, everybody's under the firing line at the moment, so um, I, I was a bit shocked to see Kimmy in there. I
Yeah.
thought Kimmy deserves a bit of a break. But apart from that, Kefadri, I think, should have been on the pitch a lot more than what she has been recently. Let's see what she can show us. And apart from that, there's nothing really much more we could have changed about the team, really, is there?
No. I think with Rosa, I think we've seen Gunnosaurus more than we've seen Rosa recently, to be honest. But it's really frustrating, isn't it, Paul? Because I think that was the sort of game that would have been good to give her a good few minutes as well, and at least starting. Because what do you think about that?
Yeah. I mean, I get why she didn't. She only made the one change. She wanted stability in the team, and the team did look a much better team than they did on Saturday. They seemed like they wanted to play well and actually play the game and play together. But yeah, it would have been nice to have seen Rosa. Would have been nice to have seen Catherine get some minutes. It was good to see Luna back on the pitch for those few minutes at the end as well, and Katie getting the few minutes at the end of Champions League football at the Emirates. So I think the West Ham game will be the interesting one to see what sort of lineup she goes for against them, and see if there's any other changes. I agree with Laura with regards to Kim. She was starting to look a bit tired, I thought, towards the end of the game in that midfield. And I've said this before, that we've got to start planning for a future without Kim, because I can honestly see this being her last season with us playing at the top level of the competition. I'd hate for her to be one of these players that just keeps going and going and going, almost like Jonas, keep going and going and going past his sell-by date, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Go out at the top. So yeah, it would have been nice to have seen that midfield a little bit different, but I think that might come at the weekend.
Yeah. I like it how you said about Kim when Mel's not on the show. No, but I do agree. I've been saying this for a while, that I don't think she should be starting 90 minutes week in, week out. I think she needs to kind of be phased in and out of the team, and like you say, plan for a life without Kim, because ultimately it's going to happen. Like, unless she's Doctor Who, which she isn't, she's going to obviously retire or move on somewhere else. James, I'll come to you. Like, I know there's been a lot of talk about Russo or Stina. Personally, I don't think there was much between the two before the game, because either of them weren't scoring. But Russo got the nod, didn't she? What was your thoughts on that?
Obviously, the same as everybody in here and everybody in every platform's all saying, we weren't expecting much last night in the way of change. Russo, I think, gets the nod because Russo's been the one who's been getting the nod. I'd have liked to have seen, personally, if you were going to change it, maybe go 2 up. But I think Russo, watching it, when Stina comes on and you see Russo kind of pull back out towards that wing side, I think you then realise the partnership is there. But like Laura's saying, with Kafaji being in there as well, I think if we were to see that, then it might help both. Russo for being able to be that player got to pick up the ball, and Stina being that player to be able to play on the last defender and actually might surprises and stay on side.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that actually. We'll come to Stina because I think Laura said something about Stina in the group that I want to come to later on. But Chantel, obviously the game started and we started off with quite a bang actually, didn't we? Like Emily Fox, we've been saying on here she's going to score, and then she got a goal, didn't she?
Yeah, no, definitely a great way to start, coming out in the first minute and scoring a banger. Definitely think Mel will be kicking herself for not being at that game. So we'll just have to tell Fox she's got to score again for when you're there. But yeah, like we see Fox every week putting in a shift in her position. I think during the game last night, you could definitely tell that playing 90 minutes week in, week out, it's starting to catch up with her and she's getting tired. You see her knee being taped up, and with Laura out on meniscus injury at the moment, it's getting quite worrying that there's no person that there really is going to put in to sub her out, which, like we said with Kim, we can't rely on one person to be in that position, because sooner or later, if something happens, then we're not going to have them.
Yeah. I was thinking, could Vivian Leah slot in, just as a like a wing back sort of thing? I don't know. I've not seen enough of her to know if she could do that job. I think she do it once or twice last season.
Yeah, I think it was against London City Lionesses that she came on and was also like defending and being that attacking winger to help the attacking wingers up front. But like again with McCabe, like you see Fox and McCabe switching sides sometimes during games. So obviously we have Steph Catley. Like there are other defenders that can play on the wings, and we do have other players, not saying put forward in that position, but like there's definitely other alternatives that we need to start using. We have a great depth bench for a reason, and what's the point of either keeping these players like Catherine and Kyra instead of loaning them out if they're not going to get minutes, and what's the point of bringing in players like Rosa if they're not going to get minutes?
Yeah, no, I get that. Do we have any comments?
Do you want me to read it, Paul?
Yeah, go for it.
So we won. Oh, and Lena is alive as well after being frozen out for nearly a year. And then Yasmin has done a shout it to Enzo. Shout it out to Enzo.
Yeah. Hey Yaz, hey Enzo. It's the only dog that I like at football, so neither. We'll move on. Also, we've got I'll come to you, Laura. Obviously, Caitlin Ballon d'Or Ford scored again. I thought it was quite a good finish, quite a good goal. She's doing well in the Champions League, isn't she?
Yeah, I think she's one of the ones that's really pulled her socks up this season. Big improvement for the previous seasons that I've seen in her. I think this is going to be one of our best seasons for us going forward, I think. As I keep saying to James, as many people know that me and James are husband and wife, so we have discussions about the games very often. And there's only a slight number of few players that this season I have in hand that have really pulled their socks up, and Caitlin's up there with us. So she is. I don't know what spark has been put into her. Is it maybe there's been likes of that? We can put Kafadri out there that could possibly put her out of misery. We've got obviously Mariona coming in that could put her out of misery as well and put her on the bench. There's many options there that's probably made her pull her socks up, and I think there should be an option going forward for somebody doing it to Beth Mead again, like it did with Nikita Paris coming in and doing it to her, because I feel that's dipped against. There's no one there to pressure her on that wing, so there is.
Yeah, I will say shout out to Lewis yesterday. He did make me laugh. He said that Caitlin Ford has scored 96.2% of Arsenal's Champions League goals this season. So I think he just made the number up. But if that's true, like if he probably did just make that up. But if that number is true, then yeah, he's gone up a bit more in my estimation. Yeah. So. Yeah, it was. I'll come to you, Paul. Obviously, then Ford got the goal, and then the third we looked, and then obviously they scored, didn't they? They got one back. I thought we started to look a bit shaky defensively again. The same problems appeared from what happened at the weekend. Would you agree with that, or do you think just with the goal, obviously they got them back into it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's difficult to change the way you're playing in that shorter period of time if they're used to playing the way that Jonas wanted them to play. But I felt they got the ball forward a lot better. They got it out from the defence to the forwards like Russo a lot quicker. But yeah, there was still a few little dodgy moments at the back. But I think they'll iron themselves out again over the next sort of couple of games. And now we've got that 4-1 win in the bag, I think the confidence will now grow within the team. They'll actually have the belief that they can win games and they can, let one in and still go ahead and score another couple of goals. Because I think that was the problem against Chelsea, was we let in those 2 silly goals and our heads just dropped for a little while.
Yeah.
But I think something's changed in the dressing room. They actually want to play. They did concede that goal, but they didn't fall apart. They actually sort of carried on and were like, right, okay, we've let one in, let's go again and let's score again. And they looked better in sort of 5-10 minutes later. They were back up to where they were beforehand. I think that's a lot of it is the confidence and the belief in the team.
Yeah, no, I agree. Chantel, then obviously we went 3-1 up with Cadenti scoring, which I think the last couple of games she started to show what she can do, which we all know how great she can be. But then someone who really, really needed a goal, we could eventually sing the Russo again song, because Russo managed to score. That goal should give her a lot of confidence, shouldn't it?
Oh no, for sure. As a striker, your main duty is to score goals and either make the goal difference on your team as high as possible or catch up to whoever's leading the goal scorer. And I think these last couple of games, she's really struggled with that. But the confidence of scoring a goal, I mean, she had a couple of shots throughout the whole game that you think, how have they not gone in? Like, the other team's goalkeeper was pretty much their best player with the amount of shots she's had to contend with. But like we all know, Russo, she likes a dirty little goal, and a nutmeg goal is a way to get your first goal in the Champions round this time round. So yeah, I think now that she's got it, the pressure's off a little bit, so she can just play the game and hopefully do what she does best, which is scoring goals.
Yeah. Well, I'll come to you, James. Obviously, it was the return of Lena Hurty. Well, I think I think that's the most important thing that happened in the game. To be fair, I thought the atmosphere for her team was really good, and I think it touched like a nerve with also Lena, didn't it? Like afterwards, she was quite emotional. How do you think she done when she come on? I know she set up the goal, didn't she?
For somebody that's been out for, I think somebody said it was something like 315 days or something, it may be a bit more.
Yeah.
Somebody's been out for that long. She looked comfortable in coming back. She looked as if she slotted in well. And I think about the only critic I could probably put on it was give a bit more time, maybe the last 5-10 minutes, not the last 120, 130 seconds.
Yeah.
But
yeah. It's just good to see her back on the pitch, isn't it? Like ultimately as well. Like she must have gone through something quite big, but yeah, I thought it's good to see her on the pitch.
Ultimately, as we say, it's a good sign any player, but especially as well, where as fans we have been kept so far in the dark when it's came to Lena. We've not been really kept up to date, which can only in comparison with when Beth or anybody like that went it. So it's nice to see she has come back, and good to see for the fans as well that they've obviously welcomed her back so openly.
Yeah. Before we finish up on the game, Laura, I think it was you, so I apologise if it wasn't, but that said about Stina when she come on adding a bit of pace up front. Just wanted to get your thoughts on that, and I do agree. I thought we looked quite a bit more quicker.
I genuinely thought we were starting to lose a bit of energy, and Valerenga was starting to creep in a little bit. But their captain, their number 7, was brilliant for them last night. Like, can't take the credit away. And as I said, just before Stina come on, we were starting to the energy was dipping. You could see players getting tired. Stina, I don't know what it was, but Stina just came on. As much as she's always constantly offside, we laugh about it at this point. She was still looking for more out of us, which I felt the last 10 minutes pulled the last energy out of us and got us the last couple of goals that we needed to settle the nerves on the night. I'm hoping we can maybe see her start on Sunday. If not, then bring her on more than what she'd been on the pitch the last couple of games through Jonas, because as I said, I think she pulls that energy out of some of our players that's lacking a little bit. So hopefully we could see something better from her now that obviously Jonas is out the door. Thank God.
Yeah. Well, we've seen the difference. So yeah, we'll talk about obviously Jonas resigning, because obviously it's a big conversation. Paul, obviously, I think it was probably the right thing to happen. What's your thoughts with interim manager? Would you keep it with Renee, or are you looking for someone else for the rest of the season if they can't get who they want to get?
To be honest, I'd give Renee a little bit of time with the team, at least until Christmas, and possibly even till the end of the season as an interim, as long as she's getting the results in there. You don't want to rush out and just get a manager or get a head coach just because you need one. You want to get the right person in the job at the right time, and who's to say she isn't the right person, at least for the short term. I think as long as we keep getting the results, we qualify out of the group stage of the Champions League, then I can't see why she can't do the job, at least until they find a more permanent long-term one potentially for next season.
Yeah. Like yesterday, the handbrake seemed to be lifted, didn't it, Chantal? Since like Renee, I know it's harsh. You can't really do that amount of what you want to do, but do you think it was more the players were down in tools for Jonas, or do you just think it's the new manager bounce?
No, I was a bit worried actually with the 24 hours turnaround of Jonas out and then having Renee in. that's quite a dramatic change, and it would affect the team. I'm glad that it affected the team for the positive and the benefit. But yeah, no, it seems to be like you see the footage when they're at training. It seems to be more smiles. A couple of players that, like last weekend, were in tears to a couple of days later, they're like smiling and happy. It feels like there has been some sort of weight or pressure lifted off of them, where it's given them a bit more time, or like freestyle that they can play how they normally play. You saw it with Fox yesterday, a couple of the girls doing like the heel flick passes to get it like past a player. That's like what you kind of need. You can't box a player in, because otherwise they're not going to play their style, and their style is what makes them great players.
Yeah, that's good points there. Thank you. Is there any comments before I go back round?
We have Dorian, who's I'm saying this as a chant. Russo again, ole ole ole.
Yeah.
Ben has said, evening all, sorry I had to bail tonight. And then Dorian again has said, it's good for Lena to get a welcome back at the Emirates. So I think that's a valid point. It was nice for her to come back. First time on the bench and getting subbed on.
Yeah, and then hopefully if she starting to feature a bit more, she can get like some minutes across. Got some games coming up that I think she'll be quite well, if she can stay fit, and that she'll be important in. James, I'll come to you about the manager situation. There's a couple of names being bounded around. A couple I'm not so sure about, like Casey and Carla Ward. I even heard Theo Walcott. That was one that I struggle with. But yeah, would you, like Paul said, look at an interim manager and then go out hell and leather to go and get the manager you want in the summer if they're not available now?
Yeah, that is pretty much it. I think it all depends on what's basically from the higher ups, what they're aiming for. Is it going to be a case of success, or is it a long-term build? And I think that's going to be the main focal of who's coming in. Renee, I'd be more than happy, as you say, if she gets the results. I think at this rate, a third place finish and a good couple of cup runs, I think.
Yeah.
At this rate, any Arsenal fan would take is a win, but it's all down to how you view it. I think if you're going for a rebuild, you're going to need, and I said this earlier in quite a few chats, you're going to need somebody there who's going to not only know from the international level what kind of players to bring in, but also look at the generational gaps, bringing in the younger ones, bleeding them in. And I think some of the names, I've not heard a great deal, a lot of them. I think Carla Ward was up there as one of the ones who's probably more familiar. If you're going to go for a well-known name, I say that needs to come with instant success.
Yeah. If we did get Carla Ward, we'd probably have to change our ticket group name. So that's the only...
that's a carry on one, but
yeah.
I mean, we've seen weirder rumours come true.
Yeah. Like there was a name mentioned, Laura, I'll come to you, like Jack Wilshere, but I don't think that's happening because he's just about to go to Norwich. So, what, like, when it comes to the managers, like I was saying before, Arsenal, we should be trying to aim to get some of either the best managers or best coaches that are out there, shouldn't we? Not like just having to settle because people are not at a club.
Yeah, it's a hard one. Like you say, who do we go for? Most people have said it. Who do we go for when we go for our new manager? I know there'll be someone out there that will be unhappy with whoever we select. No matter what, it's always an issue. Someone's unhappy with that manager being selected. Someone's unhappy with that manager being selected. I know Pep Guardiola's out of a contract in the summer, so maybe we could sign him if we give him the money. But again, these kind of things are out of reach. But I know last season I was screaming for Jonas to be put out, and one of the names that I personally put across was Fran Alonso, that used to coach Celtic. He's currently at Houston Dash. But when I spoke to one of the supporters club members at the Man City game at the Coronet afterwards, she was like, "No, he's not been managing Houston Dash. He's not been at any games managing." So I don't know obviously what there's issue there, but he's a very passionate manager, and that's someone who we need. We need somebody passionate for the team, passionate for the club, passionate for our badge that we all wear in our chest. And hopefully somebody that will come in and get the best out in our players.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, a new manager coming in sees some of our favourite players going out the door, maybe.
Yeah, it's been a common question about that. With I do think, Paul, that there are going to be inverted comma fan favourites that do leave probably in the next 6 to 12 months. But I don't know if you agree, Paul. Would you look, if you say hypothetically you was Edu, because I think Edu takes leverage now over Claire Wheatley when it comes to this, would you try and look at a younger manager that can take on a project a bit like what the men have done with Mikel Arteta, or would you just try and find someone who's heavily experienced, like in a sort of a manager who's gone out there and won stuff?
It depends what route the club want to go down. I mean, if we compare it to the Arsenal men's team, obviously Mikel didn't have a lot of managerial experience. He only had working under Pep at City, and this was his big job. And yes, it's taken time with the men's team to have. But he's basically had a good clear out, and he's now got the team firing and looking at competing at the top level. So there could be somebody out there that just needs the chance like that, but the club has got to give that person time to work with the team. Yes, there's going to be players that are going to leave. There's going to be players that are that have been not selected that will start to either come into the team or will just get cleared straight out the door. But I think the position of managers, coaches in the women's game now is a lot different to say 5 or 6 years ago, where they could almost just keep going and going and going because the fan base wasn't there. You go back a few years and you'd have 300-400 people at a game at Meadow Park. Now we're selling out the Emirates. There's a lot more pressure on the managers, and I think the top sort of Chelsea's, the Arsenals, the Man Cities, if you're not performing, then you're going to be under pressure quite early on. So whoever they bring in, it's either got to be a top manager that's pretty much going to have instant success in this first season, or you've got to bring in somebody like the Mikels, but in the women's game, who can work with the team and develop the team, bring some of the younger players through, the likes of the Katie Reeds, the Freya Godfreys, the Vivian Lears, integrate them into the team. But as you say, there's going to be some of the fans' favourites that are not going to fit that team sheet.
Yeah. I was having this conversation yesterday. James, I'll come to you. So obviously we've seen how much the WSL has improved and progressed with time, with crowd and stuff. But maybe I just wonder, is it the level of coaching? Does that need to kind of grow as well? with how the WSL is progressing. Do you agree with that, or do you disagree?
Definitely, the level of coaching does throughout the entire UK, not just down south, needs to improve. I mean, take for instance, obviously it's no nice. We don't like making the comparison between men and women's football, but the big talk obviously as well is England national team for the men, and the same question is getting asked there: what's happening with our coaching system? I think at some point it was mentioned, and I don't know if it affects the women as well. There's it's something like £1,000 to get going to get to that level in terms of getting your badges, and there's thousands of coaches out there going for it and aren't even able to get onto the course. So I think it needs looked at. I think the problem, especially the WSL is finding, is the large scale exposure that it's all of a sudden under. I mean, you think pre-Euros, it was, as you said, we're talking 3, 4. I think at one point, if you were getting 1,000 people for a crowd, it was a record breaker. All of a sudden, every stadium's going 5, 10, 20,000, and we're now actually complaining 20,000 is a small number. So the coaching side does needs heavy influence, and as well as being, I'm trying to say this a polite way, I think we need as well to invest in women in general as the coaching side. As much as we make skin crawl, Emma Hayes, and I hate her, but for the exact reason she is an amazing manager and was an amazing manager at part of Chelsea. And I think that is something that needs to be looked at going forward.
Yeah, I agree. Chantel, I'm going to come to you because someone's wrote a question, I think, in the chat.
So Jamin has put, the way the women's game has advanced in terms of numbers and media exposure and all the pressures that go with it, are we in a situation where someone from the men's game are actually better equipped than a manager with years of experience in the women's game?
Yeah, that's it. For me, that's an interesting question. I'm going to come to you, Laura, with that. Apart from Guardiola, what you said, but we ain't got 115 charges to go through yet. But so would you think that someone from the men's side could come over? Like, I don't think we're at the level seeing a very, very experienced top men's manager come over. Like, I don't see like a Jurgen Klopp or someone like that coming over. But could you see someone who's young, say like someone like a Jack Wilshere or someone along that level?
Yeah, I mean, what's to stop them? What's to stop the barriers of that?
Yeah.
I don't think there should be a barrier between a men coming over to the women's side from the men's side to manage the women's side, or a woman from a women's side going over to the men's side to manage their team. I mean, there was talks of Emma Hayes taking over a men's team about 2 years ago. Unfortunately, that nothing of that came. But again, I don't see why there should be a barrier there for a man to come over and take over our women's team. Now, what some fans will say is, oh, but men are too aggressive for our women. I mean, look at Jonas. There was questions there whether if he could treat certain players that are playing against his players with a bit of arrogance. Well, was there arrogance behind the scenes for him towards our team while practicing? Or it's hard because many women will say, no, you don't want a man to coach a woman, you want a woman. It's such a touchy subject for some people, but I don't see the problem why a man shouldn't be able to come over and coach our team.
Yeah. Like when people say that about aggressive, I just say watch Lauren James. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, she's a great player and that, but some of the stuff she does really lets herself down. Like when she like the stamping stuff, and I'll probably get absolute pelters for that from people, but shit happens, doesn't it? So there you go. You got your first S bomb as well from me. But I do agree. Like I don't see the barrier between the two. Like I don't like the comparison men's game and the women's game. I just don't. But there's no reason for me that managers can't come over as long as one of them ain't Gareth Southgate that comes to Arsenal. I'm all right. But yeah, there's ex-footballers who are learning their trade. Like Paul, I'll come to you. Like, not saying before anyone does this as an outtake that I want him at Arsenal Football Club, but why couldn't someone like a Frank Lampard take over at a WSL club? There's no reason.
Yeah, but there's no reason why anyone can't manage or coach any team. We'll use Frank Lampard as an example, though. If he hasn't been fantastic at the clubs he's been at, and what I'd hate to see happen, let's say someone like him doesn't do great at 2 or 3 clubs in the men's. I could go and coach a women's team because it's only a women's team.
Yeah, no, I get that actually.
Type of thing. So I think that there's a little line to be drawn there where you need to have proved yourself as a coach if you're going to make that switch between the two. Because if some of them might look at it as I'll just take a step down into the women's game and I can do brilliantly in the WSL or something, and we don't want to start going down that route of going backwards. The women are just second rate competition.
Yeah, because I suppose you want the level of coaching to improve, not just be like a second result, do you? I suppose so.
Yeah.
Chantel, what do you think about that question?
Yeah, I think like most of us will put the game as in it's football. You get a couple that'll go, well, it's the men's team, it's the women's team, but at the end of the day, it's the same game, it's football. So why can't a woman coach a male's team and then a man coach a women's team? It's definitely, if they're we've grown everywhere else with the supporters, the media, the game itself, how much it has grown in population and people coming. So why are we not growing the coaching and managing side when that's one of the important positions that needs to grow as well to follow how big it is exploding up? The only issue is that we've touched base on it throughout the podcast, but I think they just need to take their time. Either they need to decide where they want to end in the season. Are we going for the champions? They want to finish top 3? Are we gonna go again for the Conti Cup and then have an idea of who they're going to go for? Are we going to keep Renee and then look out for either someone who will come in and slowly over the next season or by the end of this season make the changes to set Arsenal up for the new season? Or are they expecting to bring someone that, pun intended, has the arsenal behind them with having trophies, titles and silverware, and bringing their knowledge that they already have into the game? I think it's just wondering what direction they want to go in, and then that's where we'll get our choice. But I agree that we can either have any gender.
Yeah, cool. Is there any other comments?
Just Ben saying that it was him because I said his username Jamin and he was like, "It's Ben here, by the way." So my bad.
Good question, Ben. Thank you for that. Obviously, definitely everyone who's watching, put your comments and views on that. It'd be good to get a perspective of what people are looking at. So we'll move on to Sunday's game. The we all love going to Dagenham, apparently. It's not been a good track record for us, Laura, has it? Recently, going to Dagenham playing against West Ham. What's your thoughts on it?
This is one game, even before the start of the season, that I wasn't looking forward to, considering West Ham haven't really hit the ground running as well. I think they've been pretty poor, and to be honest with you, looking at relegation as well, ain't they? So, but it's Arsenal. We hit that highest of highs, and then it's like we just go straight down. I don't know what happens with our team, but I'm hoping the win last night will keep our team spirit high, and we can go and get a win on Sunday, and hopefully break that barrier of getting beat by West Ham. Because let's face it, Mackenzie Arnold isn't there to stop us either. She's been amazing against us every time she played, but of course she's not there anymore. She's at Portland Thorns, so hopefully we can get a win and carry on those nice smiles that we seen last night, because it was nice to see them back on the faces of our team. And hopefully we can get the points back on the board for the league and get us back in some form of either getting with a chance, first, second, or third. So
it'd be nice to actually get a positive result. I've been to Dagenham twice. I'm not saying one goal yet. Not for us anyway. So hopefully that changes Sunday. James, would you keep the same team for Sunday, or would you make any changes?
I'd say make the changes, but let's be honest, I'm going to say it's going to be the same team. I can't see much being changed. Maybe if anything, if a lot of Baby Moyes' concussion injuries healed and cleared by then, she might come back. Other than that, I think it's going to be the same 11. But personally, I'd love to see basically what we call the fringe players get their chance, i.e. Rosa, Katie Reid, give them all a shout, give them the chance, throw the dice. But as we've just already touched on, it's not a favourable ground for us. So I think she'll stick with the same 11, get in over that high, and hopefully the high can maybe nick us a result in the end.
Yeah. I will say, actually, it's a really good point what you said about Lotta's concussion game. Paul, we've got to be, I don't know what they do in training. Do they just headbutt each other or something?
Well, it seems to be, doesn't it? That's both two concussion injuries by our centre-backs this season.
Yeah.
So, whatever they're doing, I suppose the advantage over this is it's only a few days out, whereas the ACLs are the year out. So I'd take a few concussions over an ACL any day.
Yeah, they get more concussions than I do when I walk into lampposts. I was like, all right, because I didn't know that was why Lotta was out. To be fair, but
to be fair, I didn't know that myself. It was actually somebody else on Twitter the other day when they were mentioning about the lineup for yesterday's game, and the question was asked straight away, where is Baby Moy? And somebody went, oh, she's picked up a concussion.
I just don't know what they were doing. Like, okay, you meant maybe that's why we're so shit at set pieces. They keep heading each other instead of the ball. I don't know. Paul. So obviously, I don't know. I'm with the thing. I'd like to see the same team. The only one I probably wouldn't mind seeing taken out is Kim Little and maybe Kyra, but I can't remember the last time we played the same team in back-to-back matches, did we? We never done it that much under Jonas, did we?
No, there was always 2 or 3 changes. I think last season when we had so many players out, there were a couple of times, but that was sort of forced into picking the same 11 because he only had a handful of players at one point. But I think maybe drop for this one because she was looking tired yesterday. So I changed the midfield up a little bit, but other than that, probably stick with the same team, at least starting, hopefully get sort of 3 or 4 goals, which would be fantastic. And then then use the game sort of the last 20 minutes, if possible, to sort of maybe try out some new things, bring in the players that haven't had loads of minutes, just get them some game time, a bit like Lena yesterday, give her a little run out, and see what can happen.
Yeah, no, I agree. Chantel, what's your views on I won't say tomorrow. It's not tomorrow, is it? It's Friday. Sunday's game. Are you expecting same sort of team, or do you think there could be changes?
I mean, we don't really like many changes. I would like to see a bit of a change. Like last season, Everton beat West Ham both times, so maybe give Catherine a chance. That would give a bit of relief in midfield. I mean, after the display in Bayern, I don't really think we can swap our keeper out in between the sticks. I think for Sunday, it's a must win to keep us in the league for going for top 3 placements. And with how West Ham is definitely set up this season, we don't want to draw or lose to them. That would definitely be a kick in the teeth for sure. But maybe, like bring Rosa on, have like a bit of difference, and then if it's not working, we can always make our substitution to bring the experience or our regulars to come on and then take the game by lead. Yeah,
cool. Go. We have got a question in the chat, but I'm going to come to it after I get your predictions. So Laura, what's your prediction for Sunday, and who's your first goal scorer?
I'm gonna go. I'll go 3-1, considering we just like to not keep a clean sheet at the moment, and I'll go. If Stina starts, I'll go Stina scoring their first goal.
Cool. James.
You know what? I'm going in the optimist. I put it in the Monday when I was watching along. I'm going to be 3-0 goal scorer. I'm going to go for Mariona. Get the bounce going.
Cool. We like to shake it. So, Paul.
I'm actually gonna go for a clean sheet for us.
Oh, he's brave.
I'm actually going to go for a 4-0, and I think we've got to be overdue for a Katie banger in there.
Yeah. I'll take a 1-0 at the minute, but yeah, just because I've not seen a goal. Chantel.
I'm going to go 4-1 win. And from the last 2 games, I'm going to have to disagree with Paul and go for a different defender. And Leah has been close about 3-4 times now. So I'm saying we're going to have a Williamson goal.
Cool. Point what Dorian said as well. After Sunday, it's the international break as well. So that's something to bear in mind. So I think we've got quite a few of our players going on international break, but I'm hoping we play the same team that played yesterday. Like the only one I said I would take out maybe is Kim and bring Kyra in. I am going to be even more positive today, which watching the shows has not been the sort of thing I would do normally. But I'm going to go. I agree with Laura. We can't keep a clean sheet. So I'm going to go 3-1, and I'm going to go Russo. She scored 1, so she'll score again. And she will win me a prediction round 1. At least she's got to do it once this season. So I think I'm on the big point of 0 in the prediction league this year. So, a question from Ryan is we'll just do this quickly. Is who would your full-time manager be to replace Jonas? So, Paul, I'll start with you.
That's such a difficult one. I mean, there's so many coaches out there, but it's whether they're the right fit for the club or not. On there, I honestly would leave Rene in place for at least the rest of this season and see how we get on. And if we end up winning the Champions League, then she's got the job, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, you can't do much more, can you?
Exactly.
James, what about you? Like, would you obviously full time to take over permanently? Surely, if you want the club to move in the right direction, you've got to be looking at, say, coaches at teams like Barca, Real Madrid, like them Lyon, those top European teams, haven't you? Because you can attract as Arsenal.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to, obviously, long term. I think this is the heat burner for everybody. The next coach has got to be, as I say, perfect. It's got to be perfect, tick every box. The thing is, and listen, football players will say it themselves, every league is different. Personally, I kind of agree with the first point of view. I think we keep Rennie until the end of the season, see how she gets on, and you know what, in all honesty, see if she can, if she wins us a couple of cups and strings the team together at the point they play well, I would more than halfway gear a 1 year rolling and see how it goes.
Yeah, cool. But obviously, Laura, I know there was a conversation between you and Mel about the Celtic manager as well. Is that a yes or no for you?
Personally, no.
Yeah.
I know Mel would be happy with that answer coming from me as well. But no, she's not really. I know she won the league with Celtic last season, but again, Fran Alonso left her in a good position for her to come in.
Yeah.
This season, she's not really kicked. She's the same as us. She's not really kicked on with Celtic in the league. Yeah, maybe she's doing all right in the Champions League, but you can see the results on the set up for a game like Real Madrid, or we were at the FC20 game, myself and James, and it felt like she's the same kind of tactics as Jonas. And one of the questions I asked James at the Celtic game was, what is it with the Swedish that's set up to basically fail a team that they have in front of them that's so good? So no. But I would personally like to see Tommy Strauss coming in for Wolfsburg.
Yeah.
I think the last few seasons he's been on a rocky patch with Wolfsburg, but I mean, look at what he's done previous seasons with them, especially against us when that game at the Emirates and the last couple of games he's kind of put them out. They've got results against Bayern, so I'd personally like to see Tommy Strauss coming in.
Yeah. To be fair, like as well, like Bayern Munich are probably the powerhouse, aren't they, of German football? So to be competing with them, you must be doing something right. Even not saying that, they didn't actually look that good yesterday, Bayern Munich. So
their manager is really, really good as well. Like he went into a rocky patch with Bayern as well, didn't he? And put them out to get them to win the league and things like that. So I think their manager, but again, he's just signed a new contract, so it's a case of, will Arsenal put out the money to pay for a manager coming in, or will they go for someone that's already on the sidelines?
Yeah, I definitely think there's quite a few options, isn't there, Chantel? Like I've said, like surely Arsenal will be looking at a manager shortlist, and even if there's managers at clubs who are playing in Champions League or halfway through their season, next summer is still quite a long way away, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. Like we still have so long in the season to go. There is so many coaches. Like the Barca coach, his contract comes to an end this season. I'm not saying we'll get him, but the way Barcelona plays, it's just like ridiculous. They're on a different level. So to have a quality coach of him coming in, I think that would definitely change up and change the style of Arsenal. But for immediate effect, I don't think we can really rush into it and hope to bring someone. I think we just need to kind of see out until the end of this year and get to the January transfer and see kind of what moves they're making, if they bring or drop any players, before we kind of see what direction coach wise they're going in.
Yeah, exactly. And with the Barcelona manager, I think that's a good point with their contract being up in the summer. It's fine because Kira Walsh in January can tell her what the flight's like, so it's fine when she's like.
I mean, I can email him. I'll give him like weathers, all year round updates, traffic, flight patterns. Like he can come and watch an Arsenal game.
Yeah, you can have my PA ticket. You ain't got to pay much. So yeah, right. We're gonna finish the show there. So I'm just gonna say thank you to my guest, Laura. Thank you for coming on. It's been great having you on.
Thank you very much for having me on. Thank you.
Yeah. James, even though you're a Rangers fan, oh sorry, I'm not meant to slip that out, am I? Right, even though you're a Rangers fan, thank you for coming. You've been brilliant.
You're very welcome. Thank you very much for having me. Always a pleasure. And keep it up. You're doing absolutely great with us.
Cheers, mate. Thank you. Chantel, brilliant as always, and thank you for your help.
I do try my best. I tip off my hat. I will end on a positive note that Vicky Palova has posted a picture of her running on the treadmill without the anti-gravity stuff on.
Excellent. So that's good news. Get her back in the team as soon as possible. Obviously, it's not going to be yet, but it'll be good. We miss her quite a lot. Paul, thank you for your help tonight, and great as always.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Yeah, always a pleasure.
Well, also, he doesn't know I'm going to do this, but Dorian, I'm going to say thank you to him because he's actually drove the show behind the scenes today. So I really appreciate that. The final note I'm going to end on, it's not football related, but all I'm going to say is, guys, life is really, really short, as we've seen with the tragic news of Liam Payne last night. Just before you comment on stuff or say stuff online, just remember that these people do have families, have that respect, but more than all, just stay kind and tell everyone that you're close to that you love them, and just enjoy life. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Bye.